Daisy here may have separation anxiety. And I do notice that when her guardian would get up to go to the kitchen, which is only a couple feet away, or get up to go this direction, she gets up and follows. So basically, when we have separation anxiety is really a panic state the dog goes through. It's an insecurity. It usually is due to a lack of confidence. Now, there's a lot of things that we just got done doing off camera that are going to help adding in rules and structure to help her feel a little bit more like a follower, so she doesn't feel responsible for her human, so she can relax instead of feeling the burden of responsibility. In this video, I'm going to go over how to teach her to stay. Most people teach the dog to stay in not a very good way. And so when you teach your dog to stay, you want to teach for 3 Ds. First, duration, then distance, then distraction. In this video, I'm really going to show you primarily duration, and then I'll explain how we can do distance and distraction. Come here, let's sit down. So when I do this, I want to have a high value treat. I'm going to keep it in this hand. I'm a right-handed person. So I'm going to start with just very short iterations. So I'm going to say stay. Stay. So I'm using 2 hands here. I'm giving her a stop sign, and then I'm turning my palm to face me when I'm doing the counting. I have the reward treat in my other hand, so she's not keying on one hand in particular. I usually keep it down here. So stay, 4, 5. Stay. First one was 3 seconds, this one was 5 seconds. Stay. Stay. Now that was on me. I pushed a little bit farther than I want, and this is a common mistake a lot of people do, is they push too far. And then for dogs, we have something that it's so easy. I'm just asking you to sit there and not do anything. But the dog looks at it like, what are they waiting for? I must not be doing something. There must be something they want me to do in order to get that tasty treat that I can smell in their hand. So the idea for this is we call it shaping. We want to gradually build up. So the first time I did 3 seconds, second time I did 5 seconds, third time I was trying to go to 15 seconds, which she showed me was too much. So now we're going to back up. I'm going to go stay. Stay. So I went to 10 seconds. So you want to, each dog is going to be different in the iteration that you want to go. Now, a general rule for training that we're going to break on this exercise is you do not want to go longer than about 3 minutes for a training session. Dogs start to get frustrated, and then you get more failures, and then they have a bad recollection of of what's going on. In this one, eventually we want her to sit here for duration up to 5 minutes. Now, what I found the best way to do this, and the guardian and his girlfriend here are the primary handlers for the dog, so I would suggest both people are practicing this at least once a day. If both of us are going to do it, if not, then the primary guardian who lives with Daisy should do it at least twice a day. That's the minimum. The more you do it, the faster she'll get this. What I like to do for my dog, the rhythm that I found that was the best was doing about 5 to 6 times a day, sprinkled throughout the day. All right, so I'm going to do it again. This time I will see if we can go to 15 seconds. Stay. All right, so she's showing me stay. That was too long for her. My puppy quest, I had to do about 2 weeks of 1 second stays. When I do this, I usually do about 10 to 15 treats. Let's not bite the pocket. Sit. So we'll do this a little bit shorter. Stay. Stay. Now you saw me move my hand a little bit. We call this a flash lure. If you're in the middle of stay and the dog looks like it's about to start getting up, if you kind of do something with your hand, you can sometimes hold the dog there. But recognize that that's close to the dog's breaking point. So you want to go close to the breaking point without going past it. Because we don't want the dog, and also if the dog like lifts its paw, starts to get up, and then you give the treat, the dog starts to think, oh, lifting of the paw or starting to come forward is what got me the treat. So I shouldn't stay here. He's waiting for me to come and get the treat. In this case, we want to teach the dog to stay up to 5 minutes. Now, it'll take a long time before you can get up there, but this is a great exercise to do if you have a dog that has separation anxiety issues because it doesn't know how to be alone. This is why it's so important as you have a puppy to properly train it. Teaching dogs are very social creatures. They're not used to being alone. They're with their siblings when they're little, and then they go to a new home. Now they're the only dog, and now everyone went to work and school. How am I supposed to deal with this by myself? It's such a contrast. It's hard for dogs. So the idea for this is first we do stay for duration. Stay. stay, 7 seconds. So she seems to be able to go up to 7 seconds, so I keep on practicing 7 seconds until maybe all 10 or 12 treats. Then next time I might go to 10 seconds. And if you can do 10, then do a couple of 10 seconds, then try to go to 13. And if your dog messes up, back up a half step. Now before you end this exercise, I always do something like this. Break. I toss one treat to the side, not always, but at first. And the second the dog touches it with their lips, I say break, release, freedom. Never use the word okay. It's a very commonly used word. And I know of a number of dogs that actually got killed because they're waiting at a side of the street on a leash. Traffic is whizzing by in Lincoln, and they're talking to somebody, and somebody says okay, and the dog just jumps out.
Would we want to have said island there, since that's the
I wouldn't say island, even though this is the dog. In that place, I was just meaning it's okay for you to break your stay. This is how I use my hand position to get the dog to come and put them in a sit. I go over their head in an arc. Sit. And if you go like that too far and the dog doesn't follow you, come back. Always keep the tree within an inch or two of the dog's nose if you want them to engage. So once they get to the point where the dog can stay for 5 minutes with me right here, the next step is start adding in distance. Let's try to do that for distance. Now this I'm just going to do like one step. We'll see if we can do. Sit, stay, stay. So I said stay, I took a step back, I waited 1 second, and then I came back and I gave her the treat. Stay. Stay. Now the formula that I like to use is I'm taking 2 steps back, I wait for a count of 4, then I come back and I give the dog the treat. A lot of people tell the dog to sit, stay, and walk away, and then say, come. Well, you're teaching the dog to auto release. You want the dog to understand that I have to stay until I hear that release word. So when you're doing this, you do 10 or 12, and then you toss the treat at the end, and you say the word break, release, freedom, whatever the release word is. So the dog knows I can't auto-release, I have to listen for that word, and that means I'm done with the exercise. So at first it's 1 step, and then come back and give the dog a treat. Now this is my formula. I might take 2 steps back, count to 4, and then come back and give the treat. But some dogs might do better where they can go longer and take 2 steps back, count to 8, and then come back. Play around with the numbers until you find the one that your dog's comfortable with. Oh, we come over here. You have a nice rear end, but we'd rather everyone at home can see your face instead of your wagging tail. All right. So once we can do it, get to the point where you can take several steps away, the next step is to move outside the dog's line of sight, but only for a second. Stay. So let's say there was a wall right here. Well, she's not staying, but can you see me in the shot? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, if the dog, when we get to the point where it can stay for 5 minutes, the stay is pretty strong. Then I take a step away, come back, and we're going to gradually increase the distance that I just got to describe. Now let's say that there's a wall right here. So I move back, and I get behind the wall. I take a step behind the wall to block her line of sight for 1 second, and I come back and give her the treat. So being outside of the line of sight is much more difficult for the dog because the human's not there. I can't see the human. I'm going to go find the human, especially if I have separation anxiety, because it's usually an insecurity. I'll let you get that one for the island. Sit. So the idea for this is the first time we go away for 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 4 seconds, and then 8. Or it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, the variables will depend on your dog and your progress. The more you practice, the faster you'll be able to go. But the idea is eventually put her in a stay, go in your bedroom, or go into the bathroom, and take a shower. Now, or whatever it is, but you gradually want to make it very progressive. You don't want to go like stay, and okay, I'm up to 60 seconds, now I'm going to go and take a nap. Or take a shower. That's way too long. So go by seconds up to a minute, then go a minute and a half, then 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. Keep on playing with the iterations. Now for dogs, once you get to 2 hours, that's the maximum you have to practice for. They can at that point they understand the behavior. So the more that you practice putting her in a stay while you go and get a drink of water in the kitchen, or you put her in a stay and go get your mail, or put her in a stay and go take a shower, or whatever, change clothes, you're helping her practice being in the home without seeing you, without being next to you. That's developing more self-esteem and confidence. I don't have to be next to the person at all times, and the world didn't end. But again, the key is to go very progressive. Most people push too far too fast, and that's where it really backfires. Now, a couple other things you can do for this is some people have, we have a lot of technology house here. And so some people will use like an iPad and their phone, and they'll Skype or FaceTime. Put it like on maybe a tripod here facing wherever the dog's going to be, then go into your bedroom and watch on your iPad. Some people will do this with security cameras. That way you can see how long does your dog able to stay before it starts pacing around or whimpering and whining. Then you know, okay, well it can go to 3 minutes and then it starts whimpering, so we need to practice for 2 minutes and 45 seconds over and over again until that dog is comfortable at that distance. Then try 3 minutes again and see if she's comfortable then go beyond that. So the idea is we don't want the dog to pass the threshold where they do start freaking out and whining and whimpering. Now, the one problem that we have here is the guardian has to work, and when he goes, she loses control of her bowels in the kitchen. And she's going in a consistent place, which leads me to think that there may be a potty training issue, but I'm guessing it's a separation because she's also scratching the door and because she follows her guardian around. So if we can help her practice, for a lot of dogs with separation anxiety, the problem isn't so much, well, the problem is two things. It's being left alone and being restrained. We're restraining them by keeping them in the apartment so they can't go and find us, and then they're left alone. Well, if we do this where we're inside the apartment for them, they don't feel restrained because they're in the same location we are, and when we practice with them, with us going in a different room, they can smell us, they know that there's no exit there, they know we're there, so they feel more comfortable and confident about it, and we can help them practice and achieve this sort of dynamic. Now, if your dog is sitting and lying down when you're in the other room, if you're watching technology, that's a good signifier that they're relaxed. If they're not relaxed, they're going to be pacing around, they're going to be stiff, they're going to breathe, she's breathing heavy. I think it's because it's a warmer day. But they're going to, those are going to be your indicators that she's uncomfortable with the situation. We want to help her practice being alone. So eventually, maybe the guardian and his girlfriend could be in the bedroom, watching a movie on an iPad or just kind of fooling around or whatever they want to do. And the dog stays in here knowing that they're there, but feeling confident in knowing that they're not alone. Then once you get to the point where you can do that, you can be there for like 2 hours and she's relaxed. And you don't necessarily have to go to 2 hours. Some dogs don't need to go that far. That's the extreme. But once she's nice and relaxed for the duration you're there, then you can start practicing where you're going outside your apartment. And this is where having the technology really helps. You go outside and you have your tripod set up so it's maybe over there facing the doorway so you can see this whole area. And so you go outside. When I do this, I put the dog, I tell the dog a couple things. Don't make a big production when you come or leave. When you're leaving, it's like, okay, Daisy, be a good girl. Don't poop on my floor. Don't do any of that. Just leave. No production whatsoever. Go outside the door, wait a count of 1, and come back inside. Next time you do it, go for 2 seconds, then for 3 seconds, then for 5 seconds. The idea is you want to go outside and immediately come back before she has a chance to get worked up. The more practice you help her with this, the better she'll get. A couple other little tricks you can do for this. A marrow bone. Dogs really love marrow bones. They're usually frozen. It's a bone with bone marrow inside it, not the peanut butter, the real deal. What you can do is give your dog a marrow bone, let it lay on the floor and start chewing on it, really get into it, then get up and leave. Go outside for only 1 second, or maybe 3 or 5 seconds, come back inside, take the marrow bone away. Don't do this if you have a dog that resource guards or will bite you if you try to take the bone away. What we're trying to do is say, hey, when I leave, you get this really amazing thing to chew on, but when I come back, the thing goes away. The end concept is we're hoping the dog's like, hey, can you stay outside longer so I can finish chewing on this thing? So it's kind of like your grandparents having really good games at their house when you're growing up, and you're like, can I take this home, Grandma? And Grandma's like, no, because Grandma wants you to come back to her house. So it's kind of the opposite situation. When I leave, you get this really high-value marrow bone to chew on, but when I come back, the marrow bone goes away. So we're creating we're going against the tide, so to speak. All right, so this started out being just about training your dog to stay, but it transitioned to some other things. But I'm going to go and wrap this up. Make sure you're practicing the stay multiple times a day. And again, first do duration up to 5 minutes, then go distance until you can get outside your dog's line of sight for a minimum of 5 minutes in the house. Then start doing when you're leaving the house, but coming right back. And again, try to get it to the 5 minute mark. Now, one other last little thing, if you can, while you're doing this, I don't know if we'll be able to do it with this particular dog, but it's best to not leave your dog home alone while you're transitioning it, because that's practicing it getting anxious. So if you have the ability to have your dog stay at a friend's house, or go to doggy daycare, or go out on a hike with somebody, or whatever it is when you're gone, that will help accelerate your progress. I'm not saying you can't do it the other way, but it's just going to be a little bit slower. All right, this is a video about how you can teach your dog to stay, along with a couple other dog behavior training tips.